Yeah, so Megumi prepared ingredients here, and yeah, the flour, right? Flour looks like a regular flour, but like actually, yeah, this is actually well 50% ramen flour, 50% udon flour. And what's interesting, like tsukemen, because it's sort of like unique, like for noodle texture. We normally, not normally, but like sometimes we like blend like different types of flour, meaning like different protein, content, like different like viscosity, like elastic value. Well, blending different flours, with different, protein and like, viscosity, give you like really interesting, a noodle texture. So that's what we're doing. Okay, and the salt, currency, and water. So it's very simple recipe. Like other than you have two different types of flour blended, right? And so this is a Richmond one machine, and then yeah. So before before we add the liquid, right? We need to make sure that like well, calcium and salt are thoroughly dissolved in it, in the water, and so this is a Richmond one machine, and it happened to be like the well C version. So that's that can be used in EU countries, and where like C mark, like that safety standard is required for any goods like going to EU countries. So yeah, this is C certified machine, and so this mixer is 10 kilograms mixer, like 10 kilograms mixer. That means that like you can mix up to like 10 kilograms of solid ingredients, right? And on top of it, you're adding liquid, right? So a maximum you can make like up to like around like 14 kilograms of dough at a time, right? And so but like for this batch, right? For this batch, because minimum batch is like four, right? Four. So four solid ingredients like flour, it's just 4 kilograms, and the liquid, right? Liquid, like I just talked a little bit about hydration, but like the tsukemen noodles, being like on the thicker side. So being thick means like kind of harder, right? So we wanna make him more softer because like if you make him like hard, and then like thick and hard, then that's just hard. That'd be like hard to eat, right? So um, yeah, tends to be the tsukemen noodle tend to be high in hydration. So this particular recipe calls for like 38% hydration, 38% hydration, and yeah. So make me prepared the dough in advance, and so that's after mixing, right? It's after mixing, and you can see that the white flour kind of turned into kind of pale yellow color, right? So that's the effect of kansi. That's the effect of kansi, and then this is the kind of dough size, right? Dough size, kind of like this crumbles dough. So that's 38%, 38% to the weight of flour. Um, so that's how big the dough size gets. And so what Ming is doing right now is like he's making the rough sheet of dough first, and this machine has like big big rollers, right? Like two rollers, um, yeah, two rollers, and then it's So in between, right? So there's a clearance, right? There's a clearance, and so this crumble dough is like going there to get squished, right? And then like to be turned into like one sheet of dough. And so that's the first step, making noodles. And but the dough is like still pretty fragile. So yeah, we want to make it like firmer, like harder, and strengthen it. And so that's the next step. But now you're just doing the or what we call like wrap foaming, and you're just kind of feeding this like crumbled dough into the roller to make, well, a sheet of dough that's coming out from the left side of the machine. So it's yeah, so this machine is actually very quiet, and you know um, you can you can almost hear nothing from the roller, and it's very quiet, and that's why a lot of customers are using this machine or use the machine, yeah, inside the restaurant. And it's like, so they set up this machine like where customers can see, and so, well, they make noodles like while like customers dining, and like some curious customers. Yes, this is a, well, there's a question like, yeah, this is a Richmond one machine, and it happens to be like C version, and so it's, well, single phase like 230 volt, and so and then you can just plug it right into your yeah, wall socket, and just start using it like, and yeah, basically this is how we ship, right? Almost like this is basically how we ship the machine. So once it arrives in place, you can just like start using it almost like right away. But it's in Japan, right? We're in Japan, so we need to use this kind of converter. Um, yeah, we just like kind of this transformer. That piece of box like, well, converts the voltage. Well, in Japan, like that's like 100 volt. So like the input is 100 volt, yeah, but like output, outputting like, well, 230 volt into the machine, so that we can use this particular piece of equipment with well, here, right here in Japan. Yeah, so yeah, because we ship a lot of these machines, particularly to Europe, so we need to test them right before we ship them out. So we have this transformer to power the machine and test it. So what we're doing right now is that like we are making this dough, well, stronger. Yeah, stronger in the sense that like we when you work out and kind of build up muscles, kind of some it's kind of something similar, and we kind of working the dough, right, by separating the dough, right. It was like single sheet of dough, and we separated it into two, and we are sort of like compounding them through the rollers. And so the dough that's getting out of the roller is actually smoother and firmer. Yeah, so like we're working the dough to sort of like build the gluten structures inside the dough. And we usually do this process like once, twice, like depending on what kind of noodle we are making. But for this one, like we do it for the second time, and and yeah, like some of you like watching, like think that like, oh, it's kind of going slowly, but like we are doing the like slow. I mean, we're doing like slowly, like purpose. And so up to this point, we're working the dough, right? So we are like, we want to apply the pressure, well, slowly, right, to work the dough. And so we are going slow. And but from this point on, right, we are, you know, we're done like working the dough, working the dough. So we are going to thin the dough, right? So from this point on, we start the dusting it to keep dough from sticking. Yeah, especially this is the what we consider like noodles, high hydration noodles, right? So yeah, we definitely this dough is gonna stick. This noodle is gonna stick. So you want to dust it well. And so this is an automatic duster like in this working right now, and you can adjust the like volume of dusting as well. Yeah, so like the wetter the dough, right, higher the hydration dough, like the more you need to dust, right? And so from this point on, we are going to just thin the dough, um, and then we can go faster, and so you can control the roller speed as well. Like it's very easy. Like you just touch the knob and touch the volume, and you go faster, and then like dusting at the same time, and also like you can, well, while you're rolling, like while you're sheeting the dough, like operating the roller unit, you can well, also like operate the mixer unit as well, like because the motor is separate, so we can do that. Okay, so that's this dough just went through roller gap like 2 millimeter, and now it's gonna go through the roller gap like 1.5 millimeter. 1.5 millimeter, and that's that's actually yeah, that's actually pretty thin, 1.5. And yeah, like speaking of like thickness, you actually make such thing as like dumpling skin, like wonton skin in this machine to like make it really really thin. It's like like less than 1.0 millimeter, like point 0.6 millimeter or something, very very thin, right? So you can make such schemes, pretty efficiently, and then you can also do like well, like the lasagna sheet, for example, like or certain types of pasta, and of course like well, certain types like udon noodles, well, certain types of like soba noodles as well. Okay, so let's see the actual thickness. That's 1.9.325 millimeter, and so that's going through like 1.5 millimeter, and then it's 1.9. It's like zero point 0.4 different millimeter difference, and we need to like measure the actual thickness before we start cutting, because the actual thickness is like always bigger than the roll gap we set, because dough, right? So it's like wheat dough, just bounces back, kind of expands like after it's gone through the roller gap or clearance. So yeah, so we need to set the roller gap before we cut like accordingly, and to get that right final thickness. And then this is the cutter, right? That's the cutter, and that this cutter like determines like the width of noodles, like each groove in that cutter, determines it's gonna be like the noodles, right? And so that's 16, number 16 cutter. So that's like a 2.0 millimeter width. Yeah, 2.0 millimeter width, right? And so let's start cutting. What? Oh. What? Oh. Yeah, it's yes. Someone asked like if the conveyor comes with this Richmond one machine. Yes, it does. And then yeah, because without conveyor, no, it comes with the machine. Comes with the machine, and like it's a default, yeah, standard. Yes. So because we have a conveyor, because it gives us the higher point of like catching noodles, and if you're tall person, and then like imagine like doing that for like 2 hours, like and then you hurt your back, like you have like back aches, and like and then imagine that like doing that for imagine doing that for like 5 days straight. Yeah, that's gonna hurt your back. So, and another feature, it's pretty convenient with this machine, is that like you can adjust the length, right? You can adjust the length of noodles, and this is very important because especially when it comes to like Tsukemen noodles, right? Tsukemen noodles tend to like like be like big in serving size, right? So yeah, when you're offering well, target customer like eating a lot, and you want to have like you want to control that serving size, right? You want to control serving size by adjusting the length of the noodles. So once you adjust the length of the noodles, then that's automatic. But yeah, but depending on the type of noodle you're making, you want to change your serving size as well. So yeah, so that's okay. The mixing is done. All right, so this is it's gonna be like really great, good Tsukemen noodles. Okay, so let's move to the kitchen, and want to cook these noodles. And yeah, there are a lot of different types of noodle making machines here, and right. So, and this is our kitchen. Okay, the lights. Yeah. All right, so over here we have something prepared. So like this is our kitchen, like where we teach our in-person ramen school, udon school, and yeah. So we've got like everything, like like production of soups, and the noodle cookers and everything, right? The noodle cooker, like I was just kind of talking about before, is this one. So so it's got the faucet, right? Faucet like actually runs soft water. Soft water, soft water is important, right? And it runs hot water as well, hot soft water. And see that this is a drainage, right? That's for the overflow drainage, right? So like whenever like like water overflows and they like kind of like draining the dirty water out, but like you can supply like clean water, clean soft water, clean soft hot water in there. So so that you can kind of create the kind of circulation like clean water. And so yeah, this is a very important part of your Tsukemen specialty shop if you're doing that. And so over here we made a bunch of like different types like noodles like for Tsukemen. Yeah, someone asked me like, well, do we produce like these noodle cookers? No, we don't. But we can refer you to some makers, or like we can help you guys well procure it. So yeah, feel free to ask us that. And so these are like different types of like noodles we made for Tsukemen. And so this is like kind of it's yeah, kind of we wanted like make so like white colored noodles, right? White colored noodles. And for that, right, like we reduce the amount of like kansi, as well as like we use like different types of kansi. So the what makes the noodle color like kind of yellow is that like that's potassium carbonate, right? So we use the kansi that has like less potassium carbonate, like higher ratio of like sodium carbonate. Sodium carbonate like doesn't make the noodles like yellow, so that's why like they're kind of whiter. And then we change that kind of the ratio of the like udon flour, ramen flour as well, and noodle size. And then notice that like they're called right, and then they're called by hand. So like if the hydration is like high enough, like you can make them curly by hand, or you can make curly by machine. And yeah, so like these are flat noodles, and there are a bunch of other types of noodles. And then different sizes, right? And then these got like kind of like whole wheat flour powder, like whole wheat powder as well, like kneaded in them. Okay, so let's start cooking them, right? Start cooking them like so. This is the one we just made, right? The one we just made, right? So we're supposed to like cook in a bigger pot, of course, but like um, yeah, this is just for this class. So like sorry for this kind of like small pot, but like you get the idea, right? And when you're cooking them, right, when you cook noodles, like it's important to, first like bring the water to boil first, and then like you throw the noodles in there, right? Just make sure that like water is boiling before you add the noodles in there. But like um, once the noodles in there, um, that but then you wanna keep reduce the heat, and then sort of like like keep the water kind of simmering a little bit like this. And yeah, so that like noodles sort of like kind of moving around, but like not too much. um, but they are cooking, right? They're cooking. And over here, like she's heating the stock, right? The stock um, that already has the like tare and or the oil, flavored oil in it. And some soup calls for cooking some like fish powder, like finely milled fish powder. And then but you are adding the fish powder over here, and then 'cause this gives the kind of like viscosity, right? Kind of viscosity and the soup, right? So that well, when you dip noodles, the you know the soup will coat the noodles better. And so you have like when you eat noodles, then you have like like more taste of the soup. Okay, so once you cook the noodles, right, and as we are talking about, right, you wanna first like wash them and like like chill them and wash them. And what we are doing here is like we are trying to like remove the starch off the noodles, right? And yeah, for this particular dish, and then we are chilling, right? We are chilling the noodles. We're chilling the noodles, and so when you chill noodles, like, and then the noodle texture actually gets tighter, it gets like firmer, well, like firmer and harder, and so that's so like it's totally different. Like it's very, I mean, way firmer than when you cook like just cooked, right? Cook the noodles, and we added these noodles in this bowl, right? And then this bowl is filled with this the dashi, the stock, right? That's made of kelp, certain types of kelp. And so this is like what's trending in Japan right now. And by soaking the noodles in the kelp, right? And then the temperature is not like is not as was not like it's not hot at all. Like it's just kind of cold. But then by soaking the noodles in the dashi, right? And then noodles gets flavor of dashi at the same time. Like it works like kind of functions as like sort of because noodles when you just put the noodles in there, right? And then there's nothing like no water. Then the noodles tend to stick together over time, right? But like when you put the noodles, soak the noodles in dashi, right? Then you get the flavor of the kelp, and then at the same time you're well, you want to have like kind of risk of like getting noodles stuck together, right? And then when you dip the noodles in the dip in soup, right? And as you eat it, like um, the the kelp, right? Kelp, the kelp dashi will gets into the soup, right? And then like, that kind of changes the flavor and taste of the soup over time. So as you eat it, as you eat more noodles, the taste and the flavor changes. So that's very important. So that's what's trending, and then you can probably try with different types of dashi, different types of ingredients. So well, so that's what's trending right now, and will help. If you are if you have some access to like uh, seashore or like and then you maybe like kind of find some kelp as well. So that's it. So like hope to see you guys on for the next Friday, and until next time, like stay tuned, stay healthy, and so thank you for watching. So bye bye.